Mrs. Sani. It says, the right to education is enshrined in Article 26 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The declaration calls for free and compulsory elementary education. Taking a cursory look at educational system in Nigeria, do you think education is accessible to all? Over to you, ma.
Thank you, Amarachi.
Thank you, ma.
Um, is education accessible to all in Nigeria? Not yet. But I'll say our cup is half full, not half empty. If you look at a few years ago, the UNICEF report of 2015, they told us that we have about 10.5 million of Nigerian children out of school. They said about 61% of between the ages, that 10.5 is for the ages between 5 and 14. Then they said even between the ages of, I think, 9 and 14 too, we have just 61% of them in school, while others are out of school. But as gloomy as all this picture looks, you still see that prior to that time, it is worst. So that means we are actually improving and we are moving higher. I'm sure by the time we look at the record in 2021, it will be better. We may still have issues with our quality, which I'll say we are still working on, but that the quality of education is, the accessibility to education is gradually improving. Look at Lagos State, for instance. With the establishment of the SUBEB, you know, we have it as a national, just to entrench this accessibility of education to all. But despite all their activities, they are trying to train teachers, they are trying to encourage all child to be in school. There are still issues here and there. So it is not yet Uhuru, but we cannot say we are at the bottom of the ladder. So there are great improvements in education being accessible to a great majority in Nigeria now.
Oh, thank you very much, ma. Dr. Pascal, do you have anything to say to what she has said?
Well, thank you, Amarachi. When the issue of education in Nigeria is discussed, always happy to hear it. I've been taught. We're talking about access to education by school age children in Nigeria. It's a far cry. Because when you come to look at it, the population of school age children in Nigeria is very high. It's always on the increase. And we're talking about access. What that means is having of these children of school age have the opportunity to be in school. An opportunity to be in school is influenced by so many factors. One of them is the school where they have to attend, whether primary, secondary. Is it within the catchment area, where they can walk to school, or where the government provide busing, so that no single child is disallowed, as it were, of having access to learning. That's one way you look at access. Another way you look at access is from the resources allocation by the government in terms of annual budget. How much money is allocated for education annually to provide schools where they don't exist, in order for our children to have access to them? Then that is an indicator, a very good indicator, that many children do not have access to education at that level. More also when you look at the disparity in terms of educational opportunities. When you now look at rural poor and urban poor. If you look at them. Well, within the urban cities like Lagos, you can say, okay, many people have access to schools. But I can tell you something. If you go to places like Owode Onirin, for instance, right from Ikorodu to up to, I mean, they call the place Ajigule to Mile 12. There's no single public school there. There's no single, and so you can imagine the children of school age, they are not in school. And a few of the private schools, because of the fees they charge, so many of these students are not in school. And you don't forget that most of their parents are poor. So these children are involved in household chores. They are not in school. And if you look at the percentage of those in rural areas that have access to schools, that even have schools within them, is very low. And of course, we know the challenge in Nigeria, in this part of the world, where we don't have accurate census. We're not even sure of the number of children we have. If we do know, you'll find out that we have not started at all. And if the goal is to ensure that every child of school is in school at that level, then we have not started at all. Now, still talking about access of children to school, you can also look at it from the point of view of availability of resources for learning. They are not available. So when you say somebody does not have access, it's not just having a school which is empty. If the facilities are not there for learning, it's the same way as saying that the children don't have access to learning. So you can see many of our children are excluded from school at that level. And so if the development goal says that in the year 2030, all children should be in school, it's a far cry. So talking about whether education is free or not free, no, nothing is free. The government has a way of telling you education is free, all right, but you pay for it. People have to pay for it by way of taxation. So what is really important is not whether education is free or not free, but whether these children have access to education at that level. In terms of those things we are looking at, in terms of the proximity, do they need to walk to school if they have to do so, right? Is the school within their catchment area? You know, because we're told that by UNESCO that it shouldn't be more than 10 kilometers. And when they don't exist, you must have a work providing, government must have a work providing bus system, bus to take the children from their homes to these schools.
Thank you very much, sir. You said a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I want to disagree with Dr. Pascal on some issues. You know, when we talk about accessibility to education, I don't think we are limiting it to public schools alone. Then, unfortunately, that area that you actually mentioned between Ajegunle and Mile 12 used to be an area I covered. And I can categorically tell you that even public schools are there. If we had those public schools along with the private schools in that axis, we do not have less than 50 schools there. However, I will tell you, because I don't usually want to reckon with those schools, because those are schools that we refer to as mushroom schools. But the fact is that these children are still accessible, they have access to those learning. And like I said when I was talking, that when we talk about quality, then we need to put inverted comma.
Okay, I think we need to take it. We need to wrap up on this question.
Access. We're not talking about quality, but you're talking about access.
We're talking about how this education can be accessible to these children. Can we be able to achieve it before 2030? And I believe both of you have spoken well concerning this. So the government will need to actually put effort for us to get this education across to other children out there on the school. Thank you very much, sir.